Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So first, I just have to say again how incredibly proud of all of you that I am. What you are doing is not easy at all. I recognize that. I know that this is a new level of writing, sometimes a new form of writing. You're doing it incredibly quickly, all things said. So just the work that you've put in already, I'm really impressed and very proud of you. And I hope you guys feel that same way as well. Okay, so let's talk about what we've accomplished so far since we have started this class, right? We have learned how to navigate Canvas. We have learned some key terms, particularly controversy and stakeholder, and those are two words I want you to keep in your mind. A controversy is a disagreement with many sides, and stakeholders are people who have a stake in the outcome of this controversy. They are affected by it in some way. You have written your formal research summary. You have learned how to do MLA citations. You have learned how to do a works cited. Even if you're a little shaky on some of those, okay. You are aware of what these words mean, which is already light years ahead of when you started this class. So, okay, so good. I hope you guys are feeling really empowered and really proud of yourselves, because that's certainly how I'm feeling about you. Let's look ahead. You are going to be writing a new paper. You will be mapping or laying out the various positions in a controversy and presenting all of those viewpoints fairly. The good news is you already have one viewpoint. You've already done that with the formal research summary. So now we're going to add to that. The first draft is due October 29th. That is in 16 days to UT. It is due on that Thursday at 9 p.m. You will have to have your paper peer reviewed, which means I will hook you up with somebody else in the class, and you guys will review each other's work. That will be done on October 27th and October 28th. So you need to plan on having your essay completed, the first draft, by the end of the day on October 26th, because you've got to have it on October 27th in order for it to be peer reviewed. That is part of your grade from UT. It'll be a 4 to 6 page paper, plus a works cited. The works cited will not count as one of those pages. So you need at least 4 pages of text plus a works cited. And you have to have 3 sources, at least 2 of which need to be viewpoints. You've already got one from the formal research summary that we just completed. Any questions so far? I cannot see your faces, so I don't know if anybody is panicking or freaking out yet. Did you tell me if you were? Okay, well, just know we're all in this together. You and every other student in Texas taking OnRamps. Okay, so here's going to be the grade breakdown. Your initial submission is going to be 5% of your high school grade. When you revise that submission, you'll turn that into me, and then we'll revise it. That'll be 10%. Making improvements to your paper is always more significant to me, all right? Those of you who've got to have revisions before you submitted to UT, you know that was a better paper you submitted to UT. You know it was, right? So those revisions are really important. You have to have it peer reviewed. That's going to be 10% of your grade, and then submitting it to UT is going to be 15%, okay? So I really am pushing that submission. It is very important. That is why you are in this class. From UT side, for the college portion of it, this paper is worth 14%. It has to be the paper plus a peer review, all right? Your last paper, the formal research summary, that was 10%. This will be 14%. So together with your orientation, on October 29th, you will have submitted 25% of this course, all right? So we are a quarter of the way through after we turn in this paper. Okay, so let's talk about how we write a paper. So I want you guys to go to Google Classroom, And you will see at the very top of classwork, we are in a new unit. It's called Mapping a Controversy. And look, I used a little map icon. Okay, I want you to pull open the question. And the very first thing I want you to do is tell me what steps you personally take when writing a paper. So here's the question. I want you guys to answer that right now. I'll give you about 3 to 5 minutes to answer this question. We're going to come back and respond to it. So this is something I expect you to do right now because you're going to have homework later. So if you are feeling stressed out with lots of homework, let's take care of this right now, okay? 3 to 5 minutes right now, answer this question. What steps do you take when you write a paper? Okay, everybody, who needs more time to answer this question? You need more time, David?
I was gonna say you have to, if you're gonna quote somebody, you have to put the main idea of where you get that source from,
Yes.
so it doesn't catch you as plagiarism.
Say that one more time.
So they don't count you as plagiarism, like stuff.
Plagiarism, yes, exactly. So they won't count it as plagiarism. Always credit the source. Okay. So that might be one step you take. I maybe should have said this first. This is kind of what I was thinking of. When I write a paper, here, there's a video that I want us to watch. When you get these slides, I've linked everything in the slides now, okay? So reviewing the class is as easy as pulling up the slides, and it should link right to, like the slide should link right to where we're headed in Canvas. So I'm gonna click this, and here we go, okay? So we are looking at something called the Student Introduction to Student Portal to Module 3. And you guys are welcome to look at all of this stuff on your own time if you want to read through all of it. It's all here for you guys, all right? What I want to do is I want to look at this actual video. So I'm going to mute myself while you watch it, and you're going to see some students at UT talking to you about how they write papers and what they think is important, okay? So let me mute myself and you guys watch the video because you're going to respond to this video in just 1 minute, all right?
Usually I like to break down the question I'm being asked, because I feel like if you don't understand the question or the topic fully, then everything you do afterwards is going to be a waste of time, because you're not going to be addressing the point. So if it's like a large prompt, I'll usually break it down, figure out exactly what it's asking me, and then I'll usually form a thesis statement to respond to that, so that I can structure everything around that thesis statement.
I just brainstorm topics, figure out what interests you, because if it doesn't interest you, it's going to be really difficult to write a 15-page paper on it. And then from there, it comes down to starting your research. The thing that I found most helpful is just creating like a reference list, and then actually putting like a summary or some sort of description of how the paper will be used.
A lot of times I will make an outline with bullet points of what I want to talk about. And then I will go through and find sources that back up what I'm kind of thinking I'm going to say, and then start kind of fleshing it out as I go. So I start with really basic points and then build. I normally go to office hours and talk to my professor, just because a lot of times they know good sources and they know how to help you kind of fix and fill in the gap. Sometimes I'll ask my roommates and my friends too.
I usually just focus on something else for a little bit. So this actually happened last night. I was editing a research paper and I was kind of stuck on how to put together the end of my introduction. And so I just went and like worked on discussion for a little bit, then came back to it.
That definitely depends on the paper. There's longer essays and there's shorter essays, but I think you need at least a good week to plan and research and to put everything together.
You can do the paper in about a week or two. You normally need to start about 2 weeks before with the research, and then if you really start writing a week before, that's probably typically good. But with research and writing, it's about a 2-week process.
I feel like if you acknowledge how much time it takes you to do each chunk, it feels less overwhelming. So like if you know it takes an hour or 2 hours to research the articles you're going to need, you can kind of think of it that way and then break it up.
For me, it's probably just getting started, because you have this like really daunting task of putting together like a 10 to 15 page or more research paper, and you always have to find somewhere to start. And I think that writing research papers for me is a lot like a puzzle, because you have all these different sources and ideas and you have to put them together into one long coherent thought.
College level writing assignments are definitely very research intensive. You need to know your topic very well.
What's most difficult about college level writing assignments is the fact that teachers, you're never quite sure exactly what the teacher's looking for. So you have to be as clear and concise as you can be. And so there's not a lot of room for ambiguity. You need to be just on point and kind of know what you're talking about and stay focused on that.
Just a few months ago, I was on the internship hunt and writing plenty of cover letters, and I think that being able to sell a product, including myself, has been really helpful. How to present yourself in a way, how to argue effectively for yourself to hopefully get an internship.
I think especially with activism and with social justice, what's important is being able to stop and listen to someone else's story and to hear it fully and to understand where they're coming from. One internship that I've had, I'm actually about to go to after this, is an internship with a nonprofit downtown, and they do a lot of work as far as high school education in the arts. But it's been great because I know how to get in, how to get that cover letter in their hands, and then also how to email people, how to speak on the phone. Just being able to kind of sell a program or an idea to someone using your words is so important. And I've seen it come up again and again in this internship when I have to call, state representatives and talk to them about a program and explain why they should sit on the phone with me for 10 minutes when they could be doing a million other things. So I think those skills have translated well.
I've also done some writing just for my fraternity whenever I'm talking to alumni or something like that, or putting together different plans. So there's really writing all over everything I do.
Okay, so now what I want you guys to do is I want you guys to go back into the Google Classroom And I want you to respond to your question. How have your thoughts on writing a research paper changed after watching this video? Okay, so you heard some college students talking about what it was like to write a research paper in college. How have your thoughts about writing changed? So go ahead and respond to your post. You should be able, after you post, to respond to other students' posts.
You pretty much have to be straight with your idea.
Yes. Yes, that's very good. Okay, I want you to put that in Google Classroom, David.
All right.
Okay, hopefully you guys have had a chance to respond. I'll take a look at those a little bit later, but I want to see how you're thinking about writing is developing and kind of where you are in this process. Okay, so let's talk for a second about pacing, okay? The paper's due in 16 days. That's not a lot of time. Due October 29th, and really it's due on the 26th so that you can peer at it before you turn it in. So that means it's due in 13 days. So I've paced our class to do a certain amount of work each class period. And if we stick with that pace, we'll be good. All right. So it's going to be fast, but I'm pushing us to stick with this pace. That way we've got the paper to turn in when we need to. Okay. All right. So let's talk about introducing the controversy. So we've talked about the rhetorical triangle quite a bit in class, I think, right? You know, the speaker goes up here. That will be you. You're the writer. You're the speaker. The audience is down here, and then over here is the subject. This right here will be the controversy you pick to talk about. And we have some really good controversies. We've got students talking about legalizing marijuana, necessary changes to the foster care system, gun control, minority hiring, the glass ceiling for women. There's so many different things y'all are writing about. So it's really cool. I want you to think about your audience as being interested in what you're talking about, but uninformed. That's who you're writing to. It's a group of people who want to know about this, but don't know anything about it. So your paper needs to think about these questions. Why are people arguing? Who is arguing? And how are they trying to persuade other people? That is the point of this paper, is to answer those questions. So let's go ahead and look at the module now. Okay. So the first, it's got some stuff to read here, which is what I just talked about on the slide, but it suggests that we look at the assignment prompt for mapping a controversy paper. Let's do that. And I'm going to drop this link into our chat so you can pull it up as well. Okay, go ahead and pull up this link so you can look at this. Okay, and I want you guys to take a couple minutes and I want you to look at the requirements of this paper. All right, it's got an overview, the general requirements, the specific requirements, the minimum requirements to get a C. And then at the bottom, it's got the rubric. So I want you guys to take a few minutes and read through this, and then I'm going to ask you what you think about it. Okay, so let me give you maybe 3 minutes to look through this, maybe a little bit longer. Look at all the requirements in the rubric. Tell me what you notice.
So we have to plot it right there.
You have to what, David?
The work we're doing right now, the how to do a.
Yeah, you should be on the mapping a controversy, and you're looking at all the requirements, and I want to know what you notice. You guys can go ahead and start putting that in the chat. For example, I notice we'll be using MLA citations again. What do you notice? 46 pages. Yep, Elvin, that's a big one.
Yeah, they can already see it.
What else do you notice in this? Look at the rubric, look at the requirements.
What is the name of the assignment again? Argument breakdown discussion form, right?
No, it's called mapping a controversy.
All right, my bad.
What else do you notice besides MLA citations and 4 to 6 pages? Go ahead and type it in the chat, or you can unmute yourself, but I'd like to hear from several more of you. What are you noticing? Eli, Alex, Alicia, Timothy, Melanie, Eileen, Crystal, Danny, Lizzie.
The black hair is something. And also
Hayden, you usually have some insight. What are you noticing on this page? What are you noticing in this assignment? Lanaya, Megan?
the criteria of the rubric, maybe?
Yes. Is there anything in that criteria, David, that sticks out to you?
Oh, yeah, you saw it. 4 to 6 pages.
4 to 6 pages. Yep. Yes, Lanaya, it did. It's quite a different requirement.
Yeah, that's quite a big jump, you know?
It is. It is. I think that's why it's going to be important that we stay on schedule, because if you do the work today and tomorrow that I'm asking, then you should have that introduction done. Okay. Anybody else notice anything? I am hoping that you guys are just shy and are not tuning me out, because that's going to put you in a difficult position to get this paper done. So I hope you all are participating. Okay, this is where we're headed. It's 3 weeks. It's important for you guys to keep up with the work. There's a lot of stuff in this. You have to describe all of the different sides in the controversy, not just one side. You're looking at all of the sides, and you have to represent them fairly. That is different. At least 2 of the sources have to be viewpoint sources. That's worth 10 points. You summarize and analyze adequately, that's worth 10 points. Use MLA citation, that's worth 10 points. Your writing is coherent, that's worth 10 points. It has to be peer reviewed, that is worth 10 points. No peer review, you're already 10 points down. You have to talk about the controversy, you have to use quotations, you have to synthesize, which we'll learn about on our next class. You have to talk about the stakeholders. All of these things are required. Okay, so let's talk about how to write a thesis. You, I'm sure, have heard of the term thesis before. Sometimes it's called the argument, sometimes it's called the principal claim of the paper. We're going to call it the thesis for this paper because we're actually not making an argument in this paper. At no point in this paper will we say which side in the controversy is correct. We are objective observers. We are looking at the controversy from outside of the controversy and describing what the controversy is. So, in your paper introduction, you should give relevant background explaining what the controversy is. You should tell me why people are debating now, and you should tell me what the main question is that people are debating and who is asking, who is arguing, who are my stakeholders. And this point 3 right here is the thesis, okay? You can always revise the thesis. That is always allowed. You can always revise it. Okay, so let's look at this section right now, and I am going to send you guys here yourselves. So if you'll go to this page, okay, it should be 3.1.1, writing a thesis. And what I'm going to have you guys do is I'm actually going to put you guys into groups. And I would like you guys to pull up the sample essay and then in groups evaluate the thesis statement worksheet, okay? So I need everybody to go ahead and go to this OnRamps page, and then at the bottom of it, I'd like you to go to class activity, evaluate a student's thesis statement. Anybody having trouble getting there? Okay, great. Okay. All right, go ahead and pull up the sample essay. It'll download, and this is what the paper is going to look like, okay? You'll see it is double-spaced, so that should help a little bit, Lanaya, because last time the paper had to be single-spaced. And it's pretty lengthy, and what I'd like you guys to do is I would like you guys to read through just maybe the first large paragraph, the first 2 paragraphs, okay? So go ahead and do that right now. Read through the first 2 paragraphs of the student paper. That vocabulary, right, Lanaya? I guarantee you the student used a thesaurus to get these words.
The PDF you're showing us right now is an example of...
This is the paper. This is the student sample of the paper, yes.
Yeah, I'm going to take many ideas from there then.
Okay, but remember, David, you also have many good ideas in your head. Your brain is just as good as the student's brain, if not better.
You just gotta be patient about it.
It's a process. Stick with me and you will get there, I promise. Okay, I hope you guys have, does anybody need more time to read that? Okay, I'm assuming that's a no. Okay, here's what's gonna happen. I am going to attempt to put you guys in groups, and on the same page, I want you guys to pull up the Microsoft Word version of evaluating a student's thesis worksheet. It looks like this. You'll be in the Word version, but the worksheet will look just like this, okay? And in your groups, you guys are going to fill out these questions. You're gonna think about what the student did, and you're gonna look at their thesis statement, okay? So hopefully I can put you guys in groups. Hi guys. everybody. Awesome. Okay, looks like many of us are back. We're waiting on a couple more friends. Okay, well, we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, so I'd like you guys to tell me what you thought about this paper. Where did you see the thesis? There we go. Okay, so you're going to have to unmute yourself, or you're going to have to type it in the chat. Good, Lanai, I'm glad you found it informative. Where do you think the thesis is? What do you think that this student was trying to claim? Good, Lanaya. Any guesses as to what the thesis is? That always feels like a gotcha question. I'm asking you guys to tell me what the thesis of this paper is. So let's look back at our 3.1.1 writing a thesis statement. Okay. And what it says is that the thesis statement should state the main question in this debate and explain who is arguing this question. That's the thesis statement, okay? So what the main question is and who is arguing this question. So when we look at the student paper, we see that exactly at the very bottom of the first paragraph, at the very top of page 2. Look what it says. The main question that all are trying to answer is, should stop and frisk policy be used by law enforcement officers to help reduce crime? So that's my thesis. That's my claim. The whole paper is going to come back to this statement and explain, should it be a policy used by law enforcement officers? And we'll have people who argue, yes, it should. And we'll have people who argue, no, it isn't. And she's already outlined some of those people earlier in her introduction. So when she says here, the main question that all are trying to answer, that all refers back to people she's discussed earlier. The thesis can be anywhere in the paper. That is very true, Lanaya. It can be anywhere. Sometimes people write thesis statements at the very, very end of the paper. Sometimes people write thesis statements in the middle of the introductory paragraph or as the first sentence in the introductory paragraph. The thing you need to understand about writing is there's no one way to do it. However, the professors of this course have asked that you set up your introductory paragraph like this. First, you should give the relevant background information. Then, you should explain why people are debating the question right now. Then, you should state the main question in the debate and explain who is arguing the question. Okay? That's how the professors want you to write it, so that's how you should write it. But Lanaya, to your point, that is exactly what the student did. This thesis statement is at the very end of the introductory paragraph. Look at how long the introductory paragraph is. It's all of page 1 and a little bit of page 2. And so the very last sentence in the introductory paragraph is the thesis statement. Does that make sense, Lanaya? Yeah, okay. So the spacing's off, it's at the top of the second page. But just so you are aware, in another job I have, I'm a reader for the AP language exam. So if you take AP language, I'm one of the people that scores your exam in the summer. And we accept a thesis if it's in the very last paragraph of the paper. So it really can't be anywhere. Just listen to what your professors want. And they want it in the first paragraph. Okay, so in your first paragraph, you should have your question and you should be telling me who the stakeholders are in that question, okay? Does anybody have any questions about thesis right now? Okay, here is one of your assignments today. If you come to the bottom of this, there is writing a thesis statement using templates. You click on that, you'll see a discussion forum, and it's got a bunch of different ways that you can write a thesis. It's got 5 different templates, like fill in the blanks for you. You're going to pick one of these, and you are going to create a thesis statement that you can use in your own paper, okay? That is something you're going to do today. Now I want to talk to you guys about what you're going to do tomorrow. You can also do it today if you want, but it's got to be done by next class period. Okay? All right. So by the end of the day today, you should have your thesis written. Let's talk about what else is going to go in that introduction. Because your introduction needs to kind of address some issues. It needs to talk about what the audience is expecting, what they want to know, and how they feel about the subject. So I don't think anybody in here is actually writing about abortion. But if you were, that's a pretty sensitive topic, right? So you need to anticipate how the audience is going to feel about that, right? And so that means you're going to have to walk a pretty fine line. And a lot of the topics you're writing about are emotional, right? That's why they're controversies. So just keep that audience in mind. They're interested, but they're uninformed, and be sensitive to what you think they might be feeling. It needs to be longer, or sometimes it can be longer than one paragraph. Your introduction can be longer than a paragraph. In the paper you looked at, in the student paper, it was one paragraph, but that paragraph was longer than one page, all right? So the introduction should be pretty lengthy. And finally, just know that you're going to end up rewriting this introduction. And after you write your whole paper, you might realize that your introduction doesn't really work anymore. So you might revise it totally, replace it, okay? All right, let's take a look at this module, which I will drop into our chat. Okay, the 3.1.2, writing introductory paragraphs. So the thesis statement's a good place to begin, but you got to introduce the whole controversy. So they give you some general advice about that, which involves the 3 things I just talked to you about. And then what you're asked to do is to complete an assignment called Questions to Answer in the Introduction. So when I click on this, you'll see that there's an actual assignment, and it's called Writing the Introductory Paragraphs Worksheet. And so it's got a worksheet for you to fill out. Everything you're going to need to know to build the introduction of your paragraph. What's the history of the controversy? What is the exigency? That's the immediate event that has led to the recent debate. What has happened right now to make this something we're talking about. For example, Black Lives Movement, that has been around since 2014. Why are we talking about it right now? Because of the death of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and the shooting of Jacob Blake, right? All of these events happening right now are exigency, and they brought it right back up into the public controversy again. Why would we talk about gun control? Well, every time there's a school shooting, Columbine, Sandy Hook, what happened in Parkland, all of those things, those are exigency. Why is this a topic right now? Then what are the most important terms in your controversy? Who are the stakeholders? What is the main question being debated? So this document asks you to think through all of those things. That way you've got a roadmap for what you're going to write for your introduction. And all of these things should be introduced in the introduction. Okay. Then, after that, you're going to come down to the second class activity, planning introductions for mapping the controversy paper discussion forum. So then this has got a handout on introductions, and it talks about all different kinds of introductions. So you're going to read that handout, and then you're going to talk about what kind of introduction you're writing for the paper. So, to recap, you'll be answering the questions to think about before you write the introduction. That's an assignment. Then you're going to participate in the discussion board and think about what kind of introduction you're writing for this paper. So that leaves you with all the work that we've done today. You've answered and responded to your own post in Google Classroom. You've worked as a group to evaluate a student's thesis. You've responded, or you will respond to discussion board 3.1.1 on thesis. You'll complete the assignment 3.1.2 questions to answer in the introduction, and then you'll respond to the discussion board 3.1.2 on introduction. If you have your work from your small group, you can email it to me and I will give your group extra credit. Just make sure you put down the names of the students who participated. Okay. Boy, that's a lot. It's not when you think about it, but it is a lot all at once. If you guys will do this, you'll have your thesis and everything you need for your introduction done. And then we're ready to move on to the body of the paper. So you'll be in really good shape. All right, who's got questions for me? Okay, the thesis is due today, so you can do it right now. You've got 15 minutes to do the thesis discussion board. The introductions assignment and the introductions discussion board are due tomorrow.